Welcome to another episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And, over the past couple weeks, we've done a bunch of interviews with some promoters. We had Ken, we had Auction Andrew. And those guys, really spelled out and laid out information for us and gave us a peek behind the curtain of what it's like to sell stuff, to sell autographs, to kind of reinvent yourself in the business of selling autographs. Well, we are very, very fortunate today to be speaking with a super fan, a super collector, and also someone who has tremendous inside knowledge and stories about the hobby. And we'll get to him right after a quick message. So if you're shopping for autographs, please check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store, Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce longtime friend Ray Dutzcak. Ray, how are you?
I'm very good. Pleasure to be on here with you guys. You guys are doing a tremendous job with these podcasts. I recommend every fan and promoter or wrestler, celebrity to check the podcast out because it has a lot of information, and you guys are right on top of things.
Thank you, Ray, and welcome.
Thanks for having me. I've known you guys for a while.
Long while, yes.
I was joking before. I was joking before this. We were joking that I basically saw your daughter grow up by seeing you guys at the cons all those years.
Absolutely,
right?
Really
absolutely. That's we've been together a long time, friends.
Yeah.
So
yes.
It's just you guys are doing a tremendous job. You're doing a real service. So
That
continued
means a lot,
success. Ray. Yeah, continued success, guys. And I'll help you as much as I can. Post your links and when you have new podcasts to check it out. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you for being on. So, Ray, you were atop my list. So I got to start at the beginning and ask, how did you get started in this crazy world?
I basically started collecting when I was very young. I think it was like, believe it or not, 1973. My parents used to take me to the White Plains County Center here in Westchester, New York, and I used to go to the matches. And they would buy a program, which was basically a fold-out piece of paper. So I had that and a pen, and I would go outside. I knew where the wrestlers were coming in, and my father would take me out there, my mother, and I would get some autographs. So all of those little sheets and stuff, those programs were always signed in pen and stuff. So that's basically where I started. I remember my first autograph, I looked at it the other day, was from Ivan Koloff.
Oh, wow.
So that was, believe it or not, I have all those, my mother, that's old school. My mother saved everything. She didn't throw anything around. So when they passed away, I took everything and I brought it to my house. And of course, I have everything in the collection. And I even have results. I used to write in the results on those programs. So I used to go in the back there, get autographs and stuff. So through the years, there wasn't much merchandise. Or the only thing they had at the matches back in those days were like crappy 8x10s, black and whites. I'm sure you guys have seen the original promos. Mm-hmm. And there was a few photographers that would take pictures at the matches. So they were little 5x7, type color, things. So what we would do, we get those signed too. And they were going for maybe like 15 cents each at the matches. So my father he'd give me like, let's say back in the day, it was a lot of money, like $20. And I'd go and the guy would sit there. He'd have these albums. I'd say like the Valiant Brothers. So he'd open it. He'd have 10 pictures of that. He used to get this guy, his name was Dominic Marcello. He used to live in Yonkers, as a matter of fact, where I live. And he got clearance from Vince McMahon Sr. to take photos at Madison Square Garden and do all the house shows, Boston Garden, White Plains County Center. So he would come to the shows and sell those pictures. So what we would do is we would meet the wrestlers outside. And believe it or not, the heels were always better than the faces. And they used to sign the back of the photos. The faces like Dusty Rhodes, everybody praises those guys. Bob Backlund was good. Bruno was good. There was a lot of kayfabe back in the day. But all of the heels, they used to sign beautifully. They would always sign. Like I said, Ivan Koloff, Nikolai Volkov, Freddie Blassie, Albano, the Valiants. All those guys were fantastic. I didn't have that good luck back in the day. They did sign with like a Dusty Rhodes. Harley Race was good. Chief Wahoo he was good when I used to go to the NWA shows. But that's basically how I started collecting. And my love for wrestling's been since day one, all the way to today for the old school wrestling. The newer, type talent, AEW, all that stuff. I don't really watch that much. I'll watch it a little bit, but not that much. But back in the day, besides those photos and magazines, we had the magazines. I used to get them on Sunday. My father would take us to the corner store on our way home from church. And I used to I used to buy them, Inside Wrestling, The Wrestler. Pro Wrestling Illustrated didn't come out till 1980. So it was mostly The Wrestler and Inside Wrestling were the two big publications. So that's basically how I started collecting.
And would you say that the bulk of your collection or all of your collection is wrestling, or have you branched out to other things over the years?
No, I have branched out through the years. I helped Kevin Clement, over at Chiller. I was part of Chiller for many years. So we had a lot of celebrities come through. You guys are famous. You guys know Chiller Theater. Back in the day, it was a lot different than today. So I used to book. I was one of the promoters. I used to be his right-hand man and help him with the show. So I got to know a lot of celebrities. I used to bring them in, whatever fees. I booked their airfare, their planes, their hotel rooms, all that kind of stuff. And I also loved, yeah.
So how do you get started with? How do you get started with something like that?
You know what happened? I was a fan, and I went to Chiller, the first one in 1990. Okay, and then I got to know Kevin. He had a store, so he asked me, "Would you like to help with the show?" There was a guy who was booking, that was moving. He wasn't going to be part of the show anymore because he was moving to Florida. So Kevin asked me, "Would you like to help with the show?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to help with the show." He said, "What we're going to do is you'll call talent and stuff and see if they want to do the show." I used to go out to Los Angeles. I used to go out to Los Angeles about 2-3 times a year. They had a big Hollywood show there. So I used to get contacts. I had a card, so they know it's legit. So I'd go to the show. First, I talked to the promoter so we didn't poach the show. So the promoter, he loved Chiller. He would come himself. We give him a room, all that kind of stuff. So I used to go up to the talent. Here's my card. We'd love to have you on the East, because a lot of the West Coast people weren't coming on the East Coast.
Right. Yeah.
They were just doing that show out there. So when they saw that and they knew, because Chiller had a fantastic reputation, they used to be like, "Oh yeah, we'll come." That's how that got started. And then I was collecting also baseball and hockey. I used to they used to have shows in Atlantic City. I'm sure you guys know, like the 500 Home Run Club. They used to bring those guys. Lots of reunions. Muhammad Ali used to come to those shows. So I used to collect sports also. But then the sports and, the celebrity stuff kind of waned off. And it was just, but the wrestling never did. The wrestling
the original, and it stuck. You kind of stuck with it the entire time.
Absolutely, stuck with it the entire time, and even today, I'm still collecting certain things. The market's a lot different today, as you guys know.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of vendors, they'll just come out with prices. There's no rhyme. What do they call it? Rhyme or logic?
Rhyme or reason to it, right? Yeah.
Rhyme or reason to it. It's just like I was at a show. At what's the big show? Sometimes my brain gets a little, but the WrestleCon in Philly. Sure. What a great show. So I was there and I went up to a vendor and I said, "I have a Shikishi board," which people who don't know what a Shikishi board is, from Japan, and it's a white board which the wrestlers sign. In Japan, they don't sign 8x10s like they do here. It's all Shikishi board. So I go up to the vendor and I say to him, "I would like to get 2 of your people on the Chiquita. How much is it?" So he's looking at the sky. I'm like, "Geez." I said, "Is Jesus up there?" I go to him. He starts laughing. He said, "No, I'm just thinking of the price." I said, "Listen, if it's not a reasonable price, the same price as the guys are signing already, I'm not interested." He came up with some crazy price, like over $300 for 2 guys on a board. You know,
Wait, did,
so
what
it's
did he
like,
think did he think the board was something special?
yeah, it's an upcharge. It's not a. I said, dude, this is a little bit. It's not even 11 by 70. It's a little bigger than an 8 by 10. Am I right or wrong,
Yeah.
Sean?
No, it's funny,
Well,
and really, there's the secondary value of those Shikishi boards is not particularly high. It's just
not at all.
it's
Not at
what's done
all.
elsewhere. Yeah.
In Japan, they sell them. You know, I have a friend in Japan that he's slowly getting rid of his collection. His father worked for Gang magazine. So he's got everybody under the sun. So through the years, he's been selling me a little bit more, a little bit more. Those, you know, those like a Fred Blassie autograph on a Shikishi board, beautifully done. What is it, Sean? When they put their name in Japanese on it?
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
word
They do the kanji underneath it.
Ganji. That's
Yeah.
it. You know what it costs? Common board is like $30 in Japan. You know what I'm saying? For you know, the John Tolis or somebody, you know, that,
Yeah, it's a,
you know,
it's a very
Liger or
different
something.
market. It was a
It's a
while
whole
back.
different
I was,
market, bro.
yeah, I was a while back. I was pricing out like Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki,
Sure.
and those, and they're really not that expensive.
He gave me Giant Baba he gave me Giant Baba, beautiful with a beautiful inscription for $1.25.
Yeah,
he said the only reason I'm charging you more because he's got the date of the carnival underneath that he was participating in. And I think it was with Andre, the last one or something. He said, otherwise I give it to you for like $50. He said, but that one is special. You know,
but I think those guys, the demand isn't as high, and the volume they sign. So let's go back to Chiller for a sec, because this is really interesting, especially given how much Chiller has changed over time. So you were going out to LA, and you were basically,
I would go out to LA. Kevin would come once in a while.
And you were using
to make
kind of the Hollywood show to make contacts.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So it's kind of an interesting look. Were there any completely any guests who you thought you're going to be able to get who didn't work out, or any kind of interesting?
Yes, I thought I'd get like Lindsay Wagner. She didn't work out. I thought I'd get who else was there? I wanted Jonathan Frid from Dark Shadows. He didn't work out. Yeah, those type of guys. You know, women. What happened was when I was helping Kevin with Chiller, I would always do reunions. If you look back on the show back in the day, I'd have like one show, I'd have like a Batman reunion, Adam West, Burt Ward, Lee Merriweather, Julie Newmar, you know, Frank Gorshin. I would do Lost in Space, you know, have the whole cast. I liked a lot of casts, you know, like Jeannie, you know, Barbara Eden with Larry Haggard. That was the thing. That's what Chiller was very popular at. That they loved, fans loved when there was, you know, all cast members were there. You know,
so sure, that's exciting. That. Even when they did
it's exciting.
It was exciting when they did the Wonder Years a couple of years ago. I was like, oh wow,
absolutely,
it draws you in a little bit.
And to put those things together are tough, Sean. You got to call a lot of people. Yeah. So you got to have one cast member in there that's going to hook you up and stick with you, you know, and talk to the other ones.
Right. Almost like a chain, right?
There you go. Exactly. You can't just say, oh, give me the number to Lindsay Wagner. Let me call her up. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, it's not like wrestling. And, you know, just one more thing about Chiller. You said people that we didn't get, Ultimate Warrior. I had the Ultimate Warrior about 98% ready to come. The problem with the Ultimate Warrior was this. He wanted to be in a separate room, which was cool, right? We're going to put him in a separate room. But he wanted to charge admission to his room and keep that. You know, have Kevin do all of the expenses. You know, he was first class. That Kevin was willing. He said, Raymond absolutely would do it, get everything. But he wanted to keep his you know, he wanted to charge admission to get in the room. Plus, he wanted to sell all his 8x10s, everything. So we would basically just be bringing them in for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because you know damn well a lot of people are going to come to the show, you know, general admission, that are coming for the Ultimate Warrior, just like they did with Roddy Piper, just like they did with Bruno. You know, Kevin's got to collect. You know, he's got to make something on this.
Right.
You know, so he was one. I talked to him for a while on the phone. You know, odd cat, nice guy and everything, but it just at the end, he said, "Oh no, if you're not going to charge. How could you charge people admission? Like I'm going to Sean, you're paying one admission to come in. Now you're going to pay another admission to go see Ultimate Warrior.
But couldn't he just roll those into the autograph prices? I don't understand.
Exactly. I tried, Sean. I tried every gimmick I could. He didn't. No, they got to pay. They got to pay. They got to pay. When I was with Vince, they did it. They did this. They did. I said, that's not how it is. I said, and you know what it is, Sean? This is the problem. When fans have a bad experience, they're going to attack the captain of the ship.
Of course,
so they're going to attack Kevin. Once the Ultimate Warrior is gone, on all the, back then it was Yahoo groups, all that kind of crap. They're going to attack him on those groups. Kevin's no good. Charges. We got charged twice. We got this. We got, the whole BS of what's going to happen. But he was a big one. I really wanted him to come, and he would have made a fortune.
So
he would have made a fortune.
Of course. And
it wasn't over a fee. It wasn't over. He don't want no fee. He just wanted, got to collect the door. I got to sell my own stuff. I got to, And I told him, I said, Jim, what do we, his comic had just come out at that time. So he wanted to sell his comics, his photos. He wanted 100% profit, basically, it is, because he wasn't getting a fee. So if we gave him, at that time, it was like 25,000. If we gave him 25,000, we'd be ahead of the game, Sean. You know what I'm saying? Dana, you know what I'm saying? By doing that. But he was very unreasonable when it came time to bargain. It was not, was very tough. I lost my voice many times talking to Jim.
So when you were doing those bookings back then, were most of them like guarantees up front? Were most of them like, did they come
a lot of them? Yeah. A lot of them wanted the table money. They want to collect. We used to pay their airfare. We used to pay their hotel, their food. They would get a stipend, so much per day, which Kevin was very generous. Back then he was, whatever it took to get these people. It was
more or less you pay the airfare, you pay the expenses, they keep the table, and then he makes on the admission. Yeah. Right.
There's a few exceptions, like Elvira's an exception, because we'd want her at Halloween, so you got to pay a good fee to get her.
Right.
Kevin had no problem. She didn't want to stay in the hotel, where the fans were. We had to put her in another hotel, because she didn't want to. And she, she used to get bothered a lot.
Right.
She'd have to have somebody with her, the whole weekend, which was me. She says, Raymond, I'm going to come because of you, but you got to come to the airport. You got to stay. So I'm like, okay, we'll do that. But she's a great guest, but she's an exception. Barbara Eden, another one, so there was some exceptions to that.
So basically you had your top tier draws would require a cash advance. And
Absolutely.
then so let's just say, because I don't really know. So like for a guest like Elvira, when he would when Chiller would lay out a cash payment, would Chiller then keep the take at the table, or would they want both?
No, they would want both. Elvira wanted both. But you know what it was, Sean and Dana? She was worth it, though, because she'd bring a lot of people in. They were coming to see Elvira. We had the tent at that time. If you guys remember the tent.
I absolutely remember the tent.
Look at the pictures of the tent, the lines. That's how I promoted. Was like that. But Elvira, you know what it is? If she wants pink M&Ms, you give it to her. She's Adam West, another one. He drew big. Those pop icon, Larry Hagman. Those people. Larry Hagman was another one. He was very generous. And then I'll let you get back to what you're asking. But Larry Hagman, this is an important story because he's a great guy. People don't know Larry. JR. I'm not saying you, but people listening. JR. He was an I Dream of Jeannie. So what he did was he came with his wife. He didn't like to collect money. You know what I mean? He felt like skeeved by doing it. So he said to me, Raymond, can you get me someone to sit with me for the 3 days? I said, Larry, no problem. So I got him someone. At the end of Chiller, he gave her $5,000. At the end of
$5,000?
$5,000. Five. I couldn't believe it. At the end of Chiller, the third day on Chiller, to pay her back.
Wow.
So can you imagine what he made?
I know.
He had lines, bro. I thought Barbara Eden would be the big, but it was Larry Hagman. He was such a generous guy, man. That guy was like, oh man, I miss him. I used to get a Christmas card every year from him. He was so like, it wasn't, you know what it was, Sean, with Larry Hagman, and this is with a lot. I'm not going to say lots of celebrities, but I'm going to say some. They come to the show because they really like the fans. It's not a matter of the money. like Larry Hagman, come on, what will we say? He's a made guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just on I Dream of Jeannie, I know what he made on that, Sean. We're talking about in the 60s.
Yeah.
Forget about JR and all that stuff.
I mean, the syndication money for that was insane.
And he had it in his contract. He was, he did very well. Then the DVDs came out, on Dallas and all that stuff. So what he gave me like, I don't know, like 30 DVD sets. And I'm like, Larry, I don't need so many. No, go ahead. Yeah, he was like, when I think back and I think of celebrities that I really, really liked, Larry Hagman's probably number one. He was just, there's just people that are nice, and he was phenomenal. So not to keep rambling, but
it's interesting. Any like real
such a nice guy.
Any real pains in the neck? So you're like, oh man, I never want to talk to him again.
Yeah, there was one. There was a few, but one that really, Batman's sidekick.
I mean, you're not gonna say anything that people haven't said 10,000 times already, right?
Yeah, it was. And I told him, I said, listen, it's Batman. It's Batman. Batman. I could have Adam West in my garage, and I'm going to get 2,000 people. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's the way it is, right or wrong, Sean and Dana. Right? It's just some people draw, and that's why I say they want their pink. Like Adam West, I would have to go to the air. I was the only one, only me, besides his agent, his real agent that booked him for Hollywood, booked him for conventions. You guys probably remember Fred. He would tell him personal lies. That guy, I was the only one that was able to talk to Adam myself. That's how much they trusted me. So Adam would send me a Christmas card all the time. Another one, like Larry Hagman. He was so generous, man. Larry, Adam West was unbelievable. And his agent was very nice. I know they like to personalize all the time and all that stuff. But they were he's another one. I put him at number 2 after Hagman. I put Adam West. Yeah, but there was a few. There was a few people that weren't so nice.
And so, I guess at some point you just moved on from working with Chiller.
Yeah, what happened was it's a long month. It's a long 6 months to put Chiller together. Then what would happen, Sean, was when I'm at the show, I'd have to run because the celebrities, they want to see me at the airport. So we would have a car service. I have to get in the car and go. I'd be running all night till like 3 a.m. Sometimes you got red eye coming in from LA. Like Adam West, his agent would come in like 3 a.m. So I promised I have to go get him. So it was long. And what happened was my daughter was born, my younger one. So when she was born, it was taking too much time. My wife was working. It was too much for her. So I said, you know what? Let me give Chiller up. So that's what happened. Do
you still go to those shows?
I don't go anymore. No, the celebrities today have gotten out of hand with their pricing. It's like crazy.
I mean, the prices that I hear. You can say the same about the wrestlers, though.
Yes, absolutely.
I definitely want to talk to that. Talk about that in a minute, but before we jump into that, is there anyone whose autograph you chased for a while that you just never got, like your white whale that you regret never getting?
In celebrities? Are you talking about celebrities or
in wrestling and whatever? Overall.
That's a good question, but I pretty much got everybody. Sean and Dana, I pretty much got everybody that I needed.
Yeah, you have a hell of a collection.
Yeah, because for us, I know, like with me, like, I had never gotten Randy Savage, right? And I was waiting for him to do something. I thought he was going to do something when he signed that Mattel deal. I'm like, all right.
And he was coming out.
I know.
He was coming out. He had his game.
I was readying
too.
I was readying my stuff, and then he just died. I'm like, oh.
He died. He had a heart attack. He hit that tree. Randy was a great guy. I met him several times. I've gotten his autograph. One really memorable time was my wife had won. What happened was at Christmas, the WWF used to do these. I think it was like 75 people. They used to have a party at the Fell Forum. Okay, so they'd have a party at the Fell Forum. PLJ would have 50 tickets. Only 50 people are allowed to come to those tickets. So you would call up and you would win 2 tickets. By the luck of the draw, my wife called up and she won. This is when Yokozuna was champion. She ended up. In fact, I posted the Yokozuna on my page. Me and Yokozuna was from that event. She ended up winning 2 tickets. So we went down there. We met everyone. I have to find all my pictures. I have one with Vince McMahon, Macho Man. I post every year, on his birthday. Yokozuna, Stan Lane, Pat Patterson. I mean, Undertaker, Luger. Everybody. Smoking Guns were there. Men on a Mission. Everybody who was there. I think it was 93.
Yeah, that would have been 93. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
right
that time period there. So it was tremendous. When she won that, they fed you. You had a great meal there. They gave you those. They were like newspaper things, with their pic. I think I seen people selling them on their shows, and they would sign those. Undertaker was there with Paul Bearer. Had the urn, had the makeup on. You couldn't talk to him. Okay, it was wonderful. Back in the day, WWF was it, man. They gave you money. So we won those tickets and went down there, and it was phenomenal. Had a great time.
And you had the wherewithal in 1993 to have a camera. Like that wasn't today, where you have a camera phone in your hand all day long. You brought a camera. A lot of people
brought a camera, took the picture. I have some beautiful pictures, Dana. I have to look for them and find them. We have so much stuff, you know what I mean, packed away, because you can't have everything displayed. It's impossible, the amount of stuff. But I have to find all those. I have a nice one with Vince McMahon, I'm not too fond of today, but, and with all those people, Undertaker, Paul Bearer, Macho Man, Yokozuna, everybody who's on that roster.
Wrestling's a funny one, because people try and say, with all these guys, how can you, knowing how they are and how many of them really are in real life, how can you still be a fan of that stuff? How can you still collect their stuff? But I don't know. I think whether it's Hollywood or wrestling or whatever, I think if you dig too deep into the personalities of those involved, it's going to be very hard to find people who are, people you want to have dinner with, So you kind of
exactly. That's why when I go up to them, it's always been this way. Whether I did a private signing, which I've done, so you guys know, private signing used to be unbelievable. I don't like to talk much because I don't want to be disappointed.
Right.
Sometimes you meet the people that you really wanted to meet, and you get disappointed. Like I met Don Morocco, fantastic. I was a little hesitant to talk to him much. And this was private signings.
Yes, I remember that was you cut them that deal to get your own little private thing there. I remember that story.
Yes, absolutely. So I was a little, but he was great. Bruno Sammartino, how many. How many private signings I did with him. Thanks to Sal Corrente. I know Sal gets a lot of heat sometimes, but he was fantastic. Bruno, I went to his house, in Pittsburgh, all that kind of stuff,
Wow.
So and he's my guy. Bruno was in my house. He was, next to Jesus Christ, he was the guy, you know what I'm saying? And my parents loved him. I loved him. I remember when he got hit in the head by Zbyszko, when Zbyszko turned. We went to church that night. It happened in the morning, and we went to church to pray for Bruno. Sunday morning, not that night, I'm sorry. Sunday morning, we went to pray because we thought it was real, that Bruno's not going to be dead and he didn't get hit hard. And we believed, guys, back in the day, kayfabe, oh my God, it was unbelievable.
That's awesome, though.
And a lot of the wrestlers would play kayfabe. Like I was talking in the beginning, I used to get the autographs outside. They wouldn't talk to you. They'd sign for you, but they wouldn't talk to you. They would just kayfabe, but they would sign, the heels. The babyface, like I said, besides Backlund, Bruno, the guys like Pete Sanchez, those guys, they were great guys. But the higher echelon, Andre was good. Met Andre a few times. Got some stuff with Andre. He was fantastic. He didn't say much, especially at the end. He was very, I met him a few times, and the last time I think was like 87 when he had that feud with Hogan.
Yeah.
And we went up to Albany, and he signed. My wife went up to him, and he signed for my wife. He put a beautiful signature. He even put the date on there and where we were in Albany. I have it in the collection. And I had Hogan. Hogan signed it first, and then he signed it, afterwards. Hogan's I hope I'm not getting off track, guys.
No,
Hogan, because we're going in different directions. I hate to do that to you. You know me, I talk a lot. I don't mean to, but that's the real estate thing. But Hogan, his autograph changed through the years. Back in the 80s and what they look like today, and through the 90s, his autograph changed much. So people sometimes they see an autograph from the past and they're like, oh, that's not Hogan, it's fake. It's got no JSA. That's not necessarily true, guys.
Right,
His
exactly.
autograph changed through the years, and the fans of today don't realize that. They just think JSA is God, PSA, Beckett, all those things. And it's not true.
I'm still trying to process the fact that you have Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Andre on one program, the 87, the two with the faces. God. You remember the one with the faces? God. They're looking at it right before WrestleMania.
You're talking about like potentially in the high 4 figures to low 5 figures or something like that. I don't have words for it.
Yeah, and also what's cool is he put Andre the Giant. He didn't write just Andre. A lot of his autographs, guys, and remember this, he signed Andre. He didn't do the Giant. He didn't do that. Not only did he do that, he put the date on there, and he put the building that we were in Albany. It was in Albany. Remember where Flair won the title? Remember the Royal Rumble? That building there. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen. First of all, I don't think I've ever seen a program multiple page type item with both Hogan and Andre.
Yeah, it's a full magazine.
To have them both on the cover,
they're looking at each other.
You're looking at
that. Yeah, I have that magazine signed just by Hogan, and it's an awesome piece. But that's
so
insane.
I know that you said, I don't want to jump ahead, but you because you said earlier that you don't sell anything, right? So
I don't.
What do you do with it?
I have everything. I have stuff stored. I have storage here. I have stuff stored. I keep it there. Magazines. I have like those magazines I'm talking about. I have those in special folders and stuff. I have other, not too important magazines in those, the magazine boxes, those white boxes I have in those things. Yeah. It's very hard to display this stuff. You can't really display it. So I have stuff, put away like that, backing boards, all kinds of stuff. Fans don't, this is a problem with fans also. They don't invest. You have to invest in plastic, backing boards. If you have a beautifully signed magazine and you have no backing board, you have no plastic, sleeve
ruined,
to put it in, it gets ruined, right or wrong, guys. You got to keep it away from light. Back in the day, it was different pens and stuff. In the 80s, it was different. Sharpie and all that stuff. It wasn't like it is today.
There's no paint.
Not today. There's a whole industry. There's a whole industry of pens today. There's a whole there are whole booths at the cons where they just sell the pens,
Exactly. Like Dana mentioned paint. You know when I found out about paint? I found out about paint about 5 years ago with Brian. Brian Sokol, Golden Ring. I went to Ken to do a private signing. Brian's like, you got these great things. I think I had a few figures or something. He's like, Ray, these we have paint pens. What are you doing, Sharpie and all that stuff? I said, Brian, he goes, try this deco, try this one from Japan, try. I was like, oh my God, and the signatures were coming out beautifully. I owe Brian Sokol a big thank you. He was the one that started with that stuff. He started me on the paint pens.
I was gonna say I want not to toot my own horn, but Dana's gonna, I'm sure, roll his eyes at this one. But
I was waiting for it.
I was doing paint pens on figures in like 08 and 09. I had bought these art markers from like Michael's or one of the craft stores.
Sure.
And I remember people used to I was the only one at the cons doing them, and people were like, "Oh, can I borrow that? Can I borrow that? Can I borrow that?"
Sure.
Because, it was like I realized this was going to be a thing, but it's funny how that's contributed to the commodification of the wrestling autographs to line up a little bit with the sports stuff, where now this stuff has value because we care about what it looks like, we care about storing it, all this other stuff.
Exactly. It's a whole different ball game today. Which paint pen to use on figures that won't run. It's a lot of fans are very educated. There's some that aren't. But
yeah, it's true. When you see them, I still, like, when I'm next to someone online at a con and I see they have the wrong pen, and it's always like this struggle in my head. Do I tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, don't do that? And honestly, if it's a really nice item, Like I was when I was at Fanatics, and I was behind this. It was at CM Punk. I forget the kid had a belt, but it was a nice replica belt, and he was going to have it signed in silver Sharpie. I'm like, don't do that. The silver Sharpie will smear as soon as you touch it. Use my silver pen. Trust me. You trust me. I have my deco. You'll thank me afterwards. Believe me. And I felt like I couldn't let him do that, on a $500 item. If it was an 8x10, but I don't care. But it's funny how you almost feel like an obligation to look out for each other a little bit.
Exactly.
And the cons, we're all kind of out in the trenches in a way,
Sure.
So
you're right. You're right.
And
Sean.
so,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a good way to talk about how the con scene, because you kind of experienced the con scene differently than we did. I mean, I got into the con scene. I was in my 20s. So I was spending a lot of money I probably shouldn't have. And I was paying, I was doing the super ticket thing, or I was doing the, when I'm getting my figures and my belt signed and doing movie posters at Chiller and stuff like that. And sure. Because you mentioned it a few times, you were doing a lot of private signing. So I guess the question is, what gave you, and it was very prescient of you to do that, because now what you used to do, and I imagine was pretty uncommon, now is pretty damn common with people doing so.
Oh, it's very common. It's very.
So what kind of gave
today.
you the inkling to start doing that? And yeah, I guess talk us through. Had you, what was your maybe it was your first private, or had you even get into the whole private signing thing?
And Sean, when you say the evolution of cons, I'm just going to throw this in here. Wrestlers started appearing in 1980. Okay, wrestlers started appearing. Do you remember that magazine? There was a magazine, Starlog. It was sci-fi.
I do.
Then they had a little horror. They used to have at the Penta Hotel in New York City. I remember the first time I went. I'm sorry, it was 1985. I'm wrong. It was I'm thinking now. It was 1985. Their lineup of guests. It was the first show. It wasn't really a convention. It was more like a meet and greet. Like they would sign for free. It was Professor Tanaka was there. Freddie Blassie was there. Lou Albano was there. Who else? Bruno was there. This was 1985, and these guys were still right. Tanaka was in California. He really wasn't wrestling much. But if you look at Bruno, Bruno, his son had come in, right?
Sure,
in 86, he was on. So these guys, there was, more guys, believe me. People that, that we'd never see in our lifetime were there at that place. Starlog used to pay them at the Penta Hotel in New York City. Would pay them. It was like, then they had some tables set up. They'd have merchandise, sci-fi, horror, plus the wrestling. But those guests were intertwined in. So it was a nice guest. So that was like 1985. Then you had John Arezzi in 1990 do a few. He did, I remember he had Kerry Von Erich, Ric Flair. He had so many people. Angel and, Kevin Sullivan. I mean, you could go on and on. Buddy Rogers, Lou Thez, I met them all at his show. So that was that time period. Then after that, legends had come. Tommy Fierro was part,
right.
He was there in the 90s
Sure.
also. Then you had Legends of the Ring come along. And they, to me, I don't know, man. Their convention, to me, is like the best friggin' convention that ever was done. It was
hard to argue. Bang for the buck. It was hard to argue with.
Bang for the buck. If you think back for under $200, we would get like a Bruno Sammartino or a Scott Hall or a Kevin Nash or Rick Martel. All of these guys, everybody passed. Or Don Morocco, right?
Yeah,
you would say probably probably about 90% of the wrestlers passed through Legends of the Ring. Without and the question. Thing was so organized. This is like the gathering in Charlotte, Marty's gathering. Reminds me a lot of Legends of the Ring, just taken to another level with dinner and all those other things, But if you think back on Legends of the Ring, we were very lucky, guys, to be able to get those people at that price compared to what they're charging today. So, to me, Legends will always hold a special place in my heart. Yeah, I always loved that show.
Yeah.
Terrence and James.
Yeah. So how did you start working the privates then?
Working the privates, what I did was I started looking at all my stuff. I would, like Legends, I did a lot of privates also.
Right.
I was looking, I had so much stuff. So I would say to myself, let me see if I could talk to the promoter or the vendor, and maybe we could make a deal, to get a better price and get, instead of bringing 5 items, I'll have 25 items. So then I started talking to the promoters, started talking to the vendors, and they all said, you know what? Even the vendors said, we could use that. I said, I'm going to give you a few $100. That'll help towards the plane ticket, or that'll help towards the hotel. And they said, you know what? Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. So that's how basically it started. It was because of the amount of items that I had to get signed, and I approached, the vendors and the promoters, if they were interested in something like that.
During those privates, did the wrestlers ever say anything like, "What are you doing all this stuff?" or "Look at all this stuff"? Or
one Stan Hansen. I think I don't know. We'd have to talk to Ken. I had over 100 pieces for Stan. This was before the live. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, what? And all these Japanese magazines. He's like, what do you do with all this stuff? What are you gonna? I said, it just comes in my collection. He goes, you're not selling any of this, right? I said, no, I'm not selling. I said, this is my own, for my own collection. He was one that had said, because it was a lot of pieces for him. We had a lot of pieces the first time Stan came around. So yeah, he was one of them that had said that, but he didn't say I'm not going to sign him or anything.
No, it was more like they were acting in like an incredulous reaction or something. Yeah.
And you know what I would do, Sean and Dana? What I would do all the time, like whatever pen, I take it out of their hands, start the other one. You know what I'm saying? So they were covered. All they had to do was sign their name. Take the items off the table. So they're not looking at all of the stacks and piles of stuff. So everything always worked out. All the wrestlers are always good to me. And the thing about me is I like inscription. So
who doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah. And they used to inscribe. It wasn't just Stan Hansen. He was inscribing, not a lot of them, but enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's how it started. It was the piece count stuff. Yeah.
Smart thinking on your part. I mean,
I figured
it's commonplace.
Now it's commonplace. Now it's commonplace. And all the vendors were always like, well, Ray, it's got to be 10 or more. I said 10. I said more like 40. They were okay. But they were always great. All the vendors, I like them.
I mean, sure. Why wouldn't they? I'm sure they love you. You're basically vitiating the cost of the whole endeavor.
Yeah, I like them. And guys, you guys know, because you guys vend. When people come along with bulk, this helps you out. This is
the best.
The wrestlers today, they don't like it because which I don't understand, because they're getting paid by Sean and Dana to sign for 3 hours. So if it's slow, I come over with 30 items. What's the problem? You're sitting at the table anyway.
Yeah, right. We had this argument. We've had this argument before. Honestly, Dana and I have argued about it in the car. I think the problem is, and a lot of our woes boil down to this: is the wrestlers get unreasonably good deals from certain vendors, and then are unwilling to play ball with others. So for example, I believe that if I hire someone for and this is a crazy thing, I know, if I hire someone for 3 hours, then they should be working for the full 3 hours and signing for the full 3 hours. But a lot of these guys really don't want to do that. And they're pretty whether it was we've told this story before, but whether it was, Lindsay Dorado, who we did a little bulk with somebody, who came to the table with pieces, and he gave a huge attitude. And I was like, you're sitting there on your phone for half an hour doing nothing. What am I supposed to just not make any money? Or even
I
Sandman,
think that way too.
Even Sandman gave an attitude.
Sandman don't like to do no more. He won't. I don't think he does extras anymore. And to me, it's not extras. It's what you're paid. I'm paying you for 2 hours, 3 hours.
Right.
You're sitting there. It's not extras. It's things that need to get signed. And I never understood that. I never understood. To me, guys, if a wrestler's able to get up from the table and go visit with other wrestlers, you as the vendor are not keeping him busy. Or her.
Correct.
You're not.
Correct.
You're not keeping them busy.
But it's funny
that's
because
your dime.
But the thing is, but a lot of these guys, and they take advantage of they view, and let's be very clear here, they view their vendors, they view their employers as marks, right?
Oh,
they do.
100%. I say it all the time.
They do, and
you guys read my page. Absolutely.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't. If someone is, and this is going to sound mean, I don't know how to say. If someone is down on their luck enough to want to work with me, right? I am on the bottom of the totem pole of this business, right? Well, we're paying guys, $1,200, $1,000. We're on the bottom, right? If someone is down to luck enough to work with me, you better check your ego at the door because you're not a big timer at this point. You're working with me,
Right. But
let's be
still,
clear.
That is true.
Still, to me, to come out for 2 hours, 3 hours, and make $1,000, let's do it all week. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of money, even no matter what you're paying.
Yeah.
I try to tell vendors that, I was talking to a vendor, I don't know, a little while back, and this is what I don't like. I don't like when a vendor advertises, let's say $30 for a wrestler, right? To send something in or to get a picture signed through them. They're putting the picture up, $30. Then a week later on their live, they reduce it to 20. Then 2 weeks later on their live, they reduce it to 10. I feel like crap that I gave you the 30. You know what I'm saying? Why are you doing that?
And the reason. The reason is because the 30 was probably too high. In the sense that this person, well, here's the thing. As you know, and I'm sure you are more plugged in than most with this stuff, but there are talents who are charging $2,000 and $3,000 for an appearance who you're never going to make that back on. You're never making it back. We've been offered certain like TNA, not TNA, AEW talents or even TNA talents for $3,000. And I'm like, I look at the number. I'm like, I'm not making $3,000 with this person. It's not possible that you're doing the quick math. I can charge a $50 combo. That means I have a minimum of 60 combos just to get through, just to go flat before fees. I'm never going to make it. They're never going to draw that.
And Sean, what about the plane and the hotel? And you want to give them some food. You don't want to, look like a schlep over there. You want to feed them, right? So you take those. So 2 becomes 26, 27 now. And then you don't want to do bulk? I mean, come on. What am I supposed to make?
Here's the thing. You and I and Dana will say this to each other. We'll go, this is not sustainable. But yet there are guys who pay this money all day long. These people, they're still getting booked. Yeah. And it kills me because some of these guys we're friendly with. And to be totally honest, some of these guys we take advantage of because we know what they're paying the talent and they're willing to give us bulks for pennies on the dollar just to get some money in their pocket. So it's like, sure, we'll because I'll pay you $5 an item all day long. You're paying this person $3,000. You're not going to make it back, but I'll give you $5. I'll make that back. I'll make it back on $5 an item. And it's like, it's an unsustainable thing. You're going to keep booking guests until you get kicked out of your house because you spent too much money on nonsense.
And that's what happens. I told another vendor who books, he does live, I said, when was the last time you took your daughter to Disney World? And you know what he told me? I never took her to Disney World. I said, stop spending all your money on these things and take them. I said, you're missing her growing up. But I need inventory because I said, but you're not doing anything for your family. A lot of these people, they live in an apartment. You know what I'm saying? You should have a house by now. With the money you made through the pandemic and all that. Some did. I know
Absolutely.
I helped 2 people who bought houses during the pandemic, 2 vendors, which they did good. Their family came first. You know what I'm saying? And they bought the house. They didn't keep doing this wrestling stuff, buying. You got to take care of your family. Then worry about their. And you know what's funny, guys? This person works too. They got a job, which they make.
They all work.
And the wife works. They make over $200,000 a year, and they sit. And you never took your daughter to Disney World? I mean, come on.
The thing is, the sad reality is for a lot of these vendors, the way we look at vacations, like you spend a lot of money and have this experience. For them, it's booking a talent, sitting at a table, having them in their car. That's the vacation. They don't care.
They rather give DDP. They rather give him $7,000 than take your family to Disney and spend.
He's Mickey Mouse. He's Mickey Mouse for them.
You know what? And then
hanging out with,
you didn't
with
make.
DDP.
So you made like $2,000. You know what I mean? You're 5 in the hole. Your family, you didn't take them on vacation, and now you got to explain to your wife why you took $7,000 from the bank and only put back 2. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality of it.
I mean, in the last few months, there have been some extremely questionable wrestling bookings where Dana and I looked at each other like, this is going to make this person homeless. with the
Yeah.
amount of money that's going out the door and not coming back in the door.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunately what it does is we're creating a market that's not to say that everything is fair, right? I'm not asking for fairness, but
Right.
I certainly cannot compete with someone who's literally willing to lose money on purpose, you know?
And
I just
a
can't
lot of
compete
them
with
are. A lot of
Yeah.
them are. You know, when you go online, you guys are very knowledgeable, very educated. You know, when you go online and you see Jake the Snake Roberts autographs for $20 and $15, there's something wrong. Jake is a $40 autograph all day long.
The
When you
problem
see
is,
it for
though,
15, you know, you want to, yeah,
Sorry,
they want
go
to
ahead.
fire sale everything. They just want to fire sale. You know, I got a job. It doesn't matter to me, but it does. You lost $5,000 on this guy. The
But the
whole
truth
thing.
of it is, these guys, they have a perception, though, and the wrestlers are guilty of this. They have a perception of their stuff is scarcer than it is.
Yes,
you can.
exactly.
I mean, if you're in the autograph world, you can go to a comic book store and trip and fall over a Jake the Snake autograph. They're not scarce. When he dies, they will be scarce, but they're not really scarce. So it's a $40 autograph. If you're in person, you want it done in a special way, but there are vendors, you know, I'm sure Ken somewhere in that house in Amityville has a stack to the ceiling of Jake the Snake 8x10s.
Oh, absolutely.
That's worth nothing. They're worth nothing.
He can't find because he's got so much stuff on top of it.
You
know, and I told him all the time. So Ken, if you're listening later on, I told you this in person. Sell your stuff. Do your sales. He's got so much good stuff, guys. He could be making stuff just on that stuff.
He does.
If Ken stopped today, and he said, you know what, I'm not nobody. First of all, nobody beats him in virtuals. Nobody. You know, you could say what you want. This one, you know, nobody beats him in virtual. He brings in the best talent. He's got good prices. He personalizes, no upcharge, all that kind of stuff. So he includes that. He's the king of that. You guys know that. He includes in the price the person, which is fine. You know, he's got stuff piled on top of piled on top of piled. He could stop today and say no more virtuals. This month, that's the last month of virtuals, and sell what he's got, and he'd be set for forever. Believe me, guys, when I tell you.
Without question.
Absolutely.
Piles upon piles, figures and stuff. And I tell you that all the time, Ken. You know,
you mentioned a little bit. You kind of whispered at it and talked about it, but I want to dig into it a little bit.
Sure.
The controversy now that is hitting wrestling and it's hitting celebrities. It's been around in sports forever, but the idea of differentiated pricing based on what the item is, premium pricing as they call it, it's now taken over. It used to be, it was with sports. I mean, it was for decades.
Always, Sean, always with sports.
As far as I can remember.
Yeah, you go down there, 500 club, you want them on a baseball, if it's Mickey Mantle or whoever it is, you are paying a premium premium price for that.
It's come to wrestling. It's come to Chiller and Monster Mania.
And terribly. Terribly.
Yeah, and so I guess the question is, what have you noticed about how the con scene has changed, and are these changes for the better or for the worse? I mean, because for me, on one level, you can say it's negative. Obviously, you're spending more money, but on the other hand, if I am paying someone for a specific service, then they kind of have to provide that service as opposed to giving you crap on a page, you know? So,
but remember this: any celebrity or wrestler, it's always per what they want to sign. You know what I'm saying? They're not obligated to do that. You know what I'm saying? We always had that stipulation at Chiller. If they decide not, you know, you come up to Elvira and you want something stupid down it, she doesn't have to sign that for you.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
But today, to Raymond, right? And you guys know about your vendors. I always thought a signature was a signature. That's what I always thought. You know, like I did collect the sports and all that stuff, and they did upcharge. What they did was it wasn't so much of an upcharge. They would include that into the price. Say Mickey Mantle was $150. That was included. You put 500 club or whatever. That was included in the price. Today, you go up to someone with let's say a Carnival. You would know this, Sean. Carnival program from All Japan. They start looking up at the sky. Oh, that's an extra large program. It's a upcharge, you know, of another $75 to get that sign. You know, I'm not for it. You know, and a lot of the vendors, what they say is, Ray, you don't understand. We're paying more money. We're paying the. Why not pay that? Negotiate with the wrestler. I used to negotiate with the celebrities. A lot of times they wanted X amount. Well, come on, can you do this for this? And they'd say, well, I'm only going to sign for X amount of time. All that kind of stuff. So
Right.
to me, I believe a signature is a signature. If you're going to upcharge, so just put it into the price. Put it into the price and started charging, instead of charging 30, charge 40.
I think the issue is though that we're at a place now where let's talk about Joe Hendry, right? Are you familiar with Joe Hendry?
Yeah. I've seen him on the internet.
It's a perfect chance to talk about this. So, this is a guy who, and this is going to sound bad, but he's a nobody, right? Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, he's a nobody. He hasn't drawn a dime anywhere. He went viral on the internet for a minute. Yeah, low tier guy, and his fee, for a nobody, was very, very high. I thought anyway. But he was booked anyway. And when it came time to doing items that were not 8x10s, his eyes got wide, more or less.
Yeah, sure.
I think these guys now, especially the younger guys, are realizing that their stuff actually does have secondary value. I mean, one of the good things about, and it's funny because even an Adam West intuitively knew that his stuff might have secondary value in the future. That's why he wanted to personalize.
And you know what it was, Sean? He thought his logic. I've sat with him many times. We had dinner. We talked deep. I saw him in Los Angeles, always meeting up with him. He lived in Idaho, by the way, in Wyoming. I'm sorry. So what happened is with him, he knew the popularity of Batman. Batman, people say it's campy. It's this. When you grew up in the '60s, your TV was tuned Tuesday and Wednesday. It was on Batman. That's what it was. We would watch Batman. The popularity of the show was unbelievable. He believed in his mind, listen, that show, he was an icon. He is an icon. That show is so popular. And they didn't make money in the '60s. The celebrities, they had no money. He got money on the DVDs. When the DVDs and Blu-ray got released, he got money for that. But in the '60s, they didn't make squat. So
that's why he appeared. That's why he took all those car dealerships.
That's why everything. So he figured he was the king of the hill. I got to get X amount of money, So I think that the vendors, when they do their lives and stuff, a lot of these wrestlers are tuning in and seeing what people are getting, and that's why they're jacking their prices up. That's my belief.
Sure. Yeah, the truth of it is though, when you take these guys, or gals, when you take what they're as soon as they sign that paper, it's like buying a car. And I've used this analogy before.
Yes.
In that
Correct.
The value drops 60% the minute it walks out the door.
Absolutely.
So you try and sell
more.
it on. Yeah, it could be more.
The sticker price is all about the experience, whether it's a virtual experience or an in-person experience. The people, it's always so sad to see the fan that's like, well, this program is signed by 10 people, and this was this much, this was that much, so it must equal it's worth $850. And it's like, it's probably worth $100.
And of course, they all think, the collectors, they're all resellers. So that's why these prices are astronomical. Listen, what's wrong with coming up with a unique item and you should be honored that there's 10 other people and you're the last one to sign it. You should be honored that you're signing it. But a lot of them don't think that way. It's a matter of the. I think the wrestlers, when they were wrestling and stuff, let's take the old school people. I think they got screwed so much, by the promoters that they figure now it's a chance to make some money. But what they don't realize, is that their fees are getting so high. I've seen a lot of wrestlers not get booked anymore because they went from being 1,200 to 25. So now they're sitting home. Wouldn't you be better at the 1,200 and working every weekend? I don't get it.
I mean, look at the. I'll give an example. Tatanka used to do bookings all the time, right?
Yeah. Yes. And then, absolutely.
When we inquired about a price, and the first thing he said, he tried to work us and say, I'm a Hall of Famer now, and I'm like, all right, you know what? You can have a good day because I'm not paying double what
I'm not playing that game.
And that's the thing that I do with vendors. Like when I was at WrestleCon, that's exactly, Sean, what I do. I go up to them. I say, listen, are you upcharging? And they'll say to me, well, what do you got? Always, what do you got? Well, I have some programs, books, and, well, can I see them? I said, listen, there's no sense. If you're upcharging for these items, then let's just not even talk price. Let's talk nothing. And then that shuts them down. And they say, okay. They don't even know what a Shikishi board is. When I mentioned the size and all that, they're like, oh, okay. Then they play ball with you. I don't even want to know how much they are, whatever. You upcharging? Yes, I am. What are you upcharging? Well, I'm upcharging figures and belts. Okay, I don't have any, so I guess we're not upcharging. Then when they see, the amount of item and all that kind of, okay, we'll do it. We'll take it.
Right.
But a lot of them are funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's just true that everything, and this is something that is a good lesson for people in this hobby. Sure. Everything is negotiable. Everything. Sure.
You got to ask price. I say it every day, Sean and Dana. I say it every day. I get messages, and I'm not the greatest. I'm not. A lot of people message me in the course of a day, and they say, "Well, Ray, I got stuck. They charged me X amount for the book for getting this encyclopedia signed." So I said, "Did you ask? If there's an upcharge?" Well, no, I just took it for granted. I said, today you have to ask, is there upcharging? Some are upcharging for encyclopedia. Some people are some vendors are upcharging for encyclopedia. You always have to. Well, I took it for granted that it was $30 that's on the table. I said, don't do that. No. Ask them, is there an upcharge for encyclopedia? If they say yes, ask them the price, and then it's your decision whether you want to do it or not. And especially with the the big conventions, there's a lot of upcharging, bro. Oh yeah, guys, there's a lot of, what it is. I'm not talking out of school. And thank God I don't need these people. But when you go to the big shows, there's a lot of upcharging for the big talent names. They're going crazy with that. Some of the vendors. So
yeah, I mean it's a tricky one, because then we've also we've had experiences where the talent demands it. The talent insists on having some upcharge.
I know Kevin Nash, DDP, they require, X amount on a figure, X amount, they require that. They'll tell the vendor, you have to get, so much. I'll never forget it, guys. The first time I met JBL, right? He did big event. Remember when they were in the hotel?
Sure.
Yep.
They were in that, excuse me for a second. They were in the hotel. The one, not where before they came to this place, but they were in the hotel across the street. You remember? And it was a total cluster. Remember, they were downstairs, upstairs. Big Show was there. All those guys. So JBL was there with a guy that has a store upstate. I think Peekskill, New York, or something like that. So he had JBL. I made a deal with him. I said, "Listen, I have X amount of pieces." He gave me a very good deal. Unbelievable. So I ended up doing the private with JBL. JBL was fine. He signed everything. He was only, I don't know if you got any stuff. He was only charging $20 for regular people with one or two items. It was $20 to get JBL signed. Bro, he was getting it all day long. JBL, because I talked to him, man, told him, I usually get $30 to $40 for it. He said, no, I'm going to make more at 20. He had a friggin' field day. He had a field. That was the one with AJ. I think AJ Lee was downstairs.
But that's the thing, is what they're so worried about is maintaining their value. This is a whole conversation that these guys didn't wrestlers of old and celebrities of old used to care about the money they walked away in their pocket.
Sure.
Now they're looking at now they're looking at their value, and it's a really a different argument. I mean, look at
it's all about the future.
It's all about the future.
And of course, I'll go back to this. All of us fans were all resellers, so we got to get them because they're going to resell. They're having Michael Hayes at big event. Can you imagine what that guy's going to charge for him?
I mean, here's the thing, though.
I hope I could say this, guys, but people are going to be bending over all day long. Their backs are going to be hurting.
I don't think you're. I don't think you're saying anything that Of course,
am I right or wrong, Sean and Dana? Am I right or wrong?
You're right. And I would take it a step further. I'm not sure what kind of draw the Freebirds will be in New York.
No, that's what I was thinking. And not only that, Sean and Dana, this is the thing. People are going to be online so long for MJF and Paul Heyman. You know, those people, William Shatner, right? He's a big one.
Yeah.
Shatner's
he'll draw.
huge.
He will draw.
Oh my God. They had him, you know, Tommy had him at some little show. I got everything done there. Tommy took care of me. I'll never forget that. It was such a big thrill meeting Shatner. Shatner was one, Sean, that I tried to get to Chiller, but it didn't work out, you know, back in the day, you know, because Shatner's always busy. If you're not going to give him $100,000, he's not going to come, you know. But he was a big. But at that show there, do you guys think that people are going to have time to get off the lines to go to vendors' tables? And I don't know, man. I don't. I remember honestly, last time.
It's why we stopped buying tables at that show, because
exactly
we sat there. We sat there and like, you know, Sandman does shows all the time. We sat there with Mikey, and Mikey hadn't done a show in New York in like 2 years, and we sat there with Mikey, and we saw everyone was on Rhea Ripley's line. And we're like, okay,
there you go.
I get it.
And it's absolutely, it gives the fans a good opportunity, you know, to go. I love Big Event. I love Tommy. I love his family. They help me out so much. But you know what it is, guys? I don't think that the vendor tables, the last time when they had Liger and Kevin Von Erich, you know, there was like 3 people that really had a lot of people, you know, at their tables. But it's just if you're getting that whole line, remember Stacy was there, Tori. If you're going to do that whole road to Big Show, you know, get that whole, I don't see you getting any vendor guests. You know, it was so long, you know, standing there. But, you know, the new fans today, you know, the new fans today, they want the Rhea Ripleys. They don't know who Kevin Von Erich is. They don't know Michael Hayes.
Right. Yeah, it's all about the current for them.
Current, who's on TV.
Did you ever do a private with Hulk?
I did. I did do a private with Hulk in this was about, I'd say 7. I put a picture I came through the memory, so I put a picture on my page about 7 years ago. He did my items, right? He did all of my items. He put personalization. He did everything for $50 an item back then. And I'm talking about personalization's heavy. Yeah, it was like,
It's actually funny because now
I went to the beat shop. Yep.
No, I mean, honestly, that those deals are not to be had anymore. You know,
not even in the universe. It's not even in the universe.
There were some inquiries made about what a private would go for now, and they don't care how many pieces you have. They still want to charge you different amounts.
Yeah, you're locked into tiered pricing.
You're locked into tiered pricing. If you could have 500 items, they're locking you into tiered pricing. It's
he's another one, right, guys? That like for a Funko, you got to charge what the beat shop is charging.
Yes,
you can't undercut the beat shop and the 8x10s. All that stuff has to be per beat shop.
So what they do is there's 2 kinds of privates you can do with Hulk now. I don't know if this is too much info, but whatever. You can either do an off the books private, which you're not allowed to advertise. And in that case,
which a lot of guys do.
A lot of them do it. And honestly, the prices were not very attractive. I'm not going to lie to you.
Not at all.
They were not attractive enough to try and get an off the books thing going. And if you get an on the books thing going, you are locked into beat shop pricing, and you are locked into they have a very, very specific rules about it. And like, if you don't have a gigantic customer base, I don't see how you're making any money off of it. I just don't.
No. I know High Spots went down. They just had a private with him. I know they did it. If you remember back, Tommy, back probably in March, I think it was, or February, Tommy from Big Event went down there. He did a private, but he didn't advertise. You know, you guys, you're educating me good, because I didn't know there was off the books and on the books. You know, that's a good education you're doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because
I always said to myself, not to cut you, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just, before I lose my thought, I said to myself, why wouldn't Tommy advertise? He's so expensive, Hulk.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Tommy advertise to get, whatever you had to do mail order? And now I understand why.
You can't.
Now I understand.
But I don't understand how you're making any money on it, because look, Hulk's secondary value is another one. There's so much out there. The value does not hold. It doesn't hold.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
correct.
If you're paying out the door I know what he's asking. If you're paying out the door what he's asking, your margin is razor thin.
You're competing with the beat shop. You're competing with
and not only that, you have to go there. You have to go there, and he's not getting on a plane and coming to you. You have to
Nope.
go down to Florida, so you have your travel. You're not going to come home the same day. You want to stay a few days down there. So, the cost is on you. I
Right.
don't see a big resale in Hogan. I'll be honest with
No.
you. He's nice to have in your collection, but not as far as Europe. The prices that I've seen them charging on the 8x10 for Hogan, forget it. I'm like,
it was
how
the
can they
kind of thing that
charge?
we kicked around the idea, right? Of like, do you want to try and put something together? And the numbers did not work. And so, it's one of those things you go, cool idea, really cool thing to do. Definitely not going to happen unless something dramatically changes with his pricing.
For you guys, your heart didn't take over, your mind did. The numbers had to work for you guys. A lot of vendors, a lot of them, their heart takes over, not their mind as far as a business sense.
Yeah.
You see? You guys, it's a different story. Sorry.
So so we've talked about the changes to the con scene, and we asked Ken the same question, and Ken had a little bit of a sense of doom and gloom as to the future of cons in general. He thinks wrestling cons are not long for the world, that there's going to be a day in the near future when the cons as we know them are going to cease to exist. Where do you think cons are headed in the future, and do you think he's right?
I think that cons are going to survive, but the promoters and the vendors going to have to step it up. You're not going to see many legends at cons anymore. Because they're just not going to make money. They're just not going to make money on these people. You're going to have to bring in A-list talent, people on AEW, the undercard people, those kind of people for the newer fans. You see, the people like us, Sean and Dana, myself, Ken, Marty from Team Mark, those us type of people, the old school people, a lot of us are going away now. We're not collecting anymore. I talked to a few of my friends last week. I said, I never see you guys. Oh, we stopped collecting. They lose interest, and they just don't want to pay the prices anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
That they're charging. When you used to pay for I hate to use names, guys, because if you used to pay for a guy, you used to pay $20 at a convention. You get a photo, $30 for a combo, and now he's 40 just for an autograph, and then another 40 for a picture. There is no combo. You kind of lose interest in the hobby. You know what I'm saying? But I see the hobbies, it's going to be geared towards the new fan, the fan of today. The old school fans are going to go away. We might go to visit, but we're not going to go to buy because we're going to have no interest.
To speak to your point, and I will use a name because I was blown away when I saw it. I got Lex Luger as part of a $20 super ticket. And wow. Lex Luger now, well, I paid. He was extras with $20 when he was on the super ticket. Now Lex Luger is $150 combo.
Unbelievable.
$150 combo.
Unbelievable. Like the Steiners are like $250. Marty used to work with the Steiners all the time. You guys remember Steiners used to be all over. They were $20 a piece.
Easily.
Scott Steiner, I saw the price listed $65 just for an autograph. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous.
I mean, that all ties in. Not that I'm trying to, I'm not, in no way am I going after anyone because it's just
no, we're just talking. Listen, we're shooting a breeze. But trying to educate people.
Lex and the Steiners. It's funny that those three names came out because they all have like a common representation, and that ties into the whole thing with agents and wrestling and how agents are changing the game for better and worse, I suppose.
Yes,
and it's interesting.
Worse for us, better, I guess, for the talent. But this is the thing. What I always said, being in real estate, I always said the seller could say whatever amount they want for the house. The price of the house is dictated by supply and demand, by the market, right? Who's buying, also the mortgage rates, right? What good is having a house on the market for $550,000 that nobody can afford because they can't, today the mortgage rates are over 6%. They can't get a mortgage to buy this house. So the same thing applies with the wrestlers. Am I right or wrong? You could charge for a $225 for both Steiners, but who's going to buy it? You know who's going to buy it? Some new fan who has no idea about anything, who just came in. Maybe they know the Steiners a little bit, and they're going to go and buy it. We're not going to buy it.
The last time I saw this, I forget the con. The last time I saw the Steiners, when they were that price, they were sitting there on their phones, not doing any business.
Yep.
Not doing any business. They did that. They went to what's the one in North Carolina? WrestleCade. They were at WrestleCade. They didn't do nothing. A friend of mine went. He was showing me pictures. He said, "Ray, look at this one. Look at this one." Big names. They weren't doing any business because the price was too much.
It'll catch up some eventually.
But the sad reality is, I agree with everything you're saying. But like, I'm sitting here right now, in my office, and what do I see in front of me? A Lex Luger Hasbro that I was psychotic enough to purchase a few weeks ago. And I will be paying the damn price to get that signed.
To get that signed.
So it's just, I feel sick about it. But I mean, what am I?
But you know what it is, Dana? It's one and done. You know what I mean? You may pay to get that, and that's the end of the story. You know what I'm saying? It's not a longevity thing for these wrestlers. They don't understand that. They don't get that. They really don't. They don't understand. Well, if we go out and we're charging $60 for, imagine Scott Steiner, $65 for an order. If I'm going to charge $65, well, I'm going to get 2 people in 3 hours. Where if I charge $30, I'll have a steady flow going through, or $25. You know what I'm saying? And do a $40 combo or something. They just that does. And this is what I was going to say before. I was going to say this. This is where I feel bad, because the talent is paid, right? The talent is paid. Now, where does the vendors' money come in, or where does the promoters? You got your money. So why not make it that I get my money and make a profit on it, so I have you back? But it doesn't work like that.
But as we said, because there is an unending stream of people who are willing to lose money for this experience.
Yeah,
it's the mark.
And like you said, and like you guys said, it's people that they come off. If you look at that, they're very successful. It's people we know. That they losing money.
It is absolutely people we know,
left and right, and right.
Yes.
Left and right.
And it's one of those things that eventually it catches up, or the industry itself implodes, because when these guys stop taking bookings, they stop getting bookings.
I had a conversation with a vendor. I was heated, in the gathering. We were in the hallway, and I wasn't taking that on him. I was just voicing my opinion. So I had told him, I said, some of these vendors have to go out, get a job. You see, like you and Dave, you guys work. They have to get a job. Don't put all the pressure on the wife to work, for benefits and all that. And stop this wrestling bullshit where you're losing money 24/7. Every person you take out, you're losing money. You have to go out, you get a job, do this as a side hustle. Do it on the side. The market is not, it's a buyer's market right now. The things that are being sold so underpriced, it's crazy. It's a buyer's market. It's not a good time to be a full-time vendor. I don't know how they survive. I'll be honest. Some of them do very well. Don't get me wrong. Some do very well. Like Brian saw, he does it full-time. He's boom, boom. That guy is a machine. He works like a machine. That guy don't go to sleep until after his live. Everybody's stuff is packed. He even packs the stuff before he gets the money. I don't think he'll get mad at me for saying. He's one of the most articulate vendors that are there.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much I love the idea of packing the stuff before I get paid.
yeah. No, but it doesn't send it out. But this pack. But you guys know Brian. You can't not like it. He never has people not pay him. Everybody pays him. He's just a good guy. You can't he'll give the shirt off your back. Off his back to you. Everybody. There's just some people like that. He's just wonderful. Everything that guy goes to sleep the next morning. Like 5 a.m. he's sleeping. But what a good person.
Yeah, whenever I text Brian, that's like a daily thing. You don't hear back until 1, 2 p.m. because he's up all night working and packing.
Dana, you remember when we did the Duggan? He had the Duggan live at his. Remember how efficient that was, man? Me and you, we helped him out. I did the pens. You did the. I give you the pictures that he take it. He tag it right away. All that kind of stuff. It's just we were going so fast. Remember, we had vendors that had 30. We were just boom, boom, boom. That's how he is. He's just so efficient, and he's just a nice guy. He'll give you a check. He don't go on the internet. Oh, well, I didn't get paid from Ray, so I blow him up now. He's smart. He gives people a chance to come and pay him. Guys, especially now, look at the states that the hurricane came through. I'm sure there are people on there that bought in lives. They don't have any communication. The last thing that they're thinking about is that picture of Jake the Snake Roberts. Meanwhile, their house blew away. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a little compassion in your heart. That's the vendors. You got to have a little compassion. Give the people a chance. Give it. I know we all like to get our money right away, but it doesn't work like that. It's just people have other priority. Don't get me wrong. You buy in an auction, you buy in a live, you have to pay your vendor. You have to pay them, but the vendor should give just a little chance. To be able
at least
to
for
come up
natural
with the money.
disasters.
Come on, you know what I'm saying, Dana? Come on, man. I would feel so bad. If I I blast someone because they didn't pay. Meanwhile, I find out their house, went away in the flood. It's crazy, man. Sorry to rant like that. But
That's a hell of a heel turn right there.
yeah, that's a heel turn. And like I said, I love all the vendors. Everybody's good people. But you got to give the buyers a chance too. Like I said, not every buyer is perfect. This is the thing, and I hope you guys don't mind me touching. I'll touch quick on it. The thing with the buyers is this: you got some buyers that go to every show, they're in groups and they bid on so much crap. At the end, they don't have the money to do. I think that, I always write down what I buy. Like if I buy from Brian, I bought 2 pictures. I put the name with the price. I don't even think they write anything down. Then when it comes time to pay, they're like, oh, I owe that money to this one. I owe Ray. I owe Sean. I owe Dana. I owe Brian. They don't have the money to do it. So what I think they do is take the items that they want the most, pay that vendor, and the hell with the other vendors. But I'm glad the vendors are getting rid of these people.
And that's why in large part, we set up our business in a way. I don't have patience for that. I give the vendors that do so much credit. I don't have patience to chase people down for money.
Sure.
If you can't, I try to run it like Best Buy, and I think Sean agrees with that. If you don't have the money to pay right now, there's no layaway, there's no holds, there's no invoices. Yeah, that's it. We don't do live, so we don't have to chase down money. We just it's easier that way.
Exactly.
So Ray, it was very, very awesome to talk to you about this stuff. I mean, you are like the collector of all collectors. That
absolutely,
you know everything. You know everybody. You've been everywhere. And there isn't anyone around who says a bad word about you. So that means something.
Yeah. I appreciate that, guys.
He's definitely the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this hobby. He just knows it all.
Listen, we try to. A lot of people get mad. There's vendors, they get mad because they say, Ray, you're telling the fans too much. Guys, it's not that. It's people need to be educated. I hate to see people get screwed. I hate to see them get screwed. I do, guys. I feel for people. It's tough times right now. We all, we made money, we this, or we're comfortable, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Some people ain't like that. They ain't like that. We got to help people. That's always my thoughts. People who want to be helped. There's some that don't give a crap what we're saying. They're talking out their ass,
But you know what? At the end of the day, and this from your experience in real estate, when there's transparency in your transactions, when everyone is educated, everyone is happier at the end, right? Everyone is happier when we're knowledgeable. We're not snowing each other and trying to take advantage. And that's that's an important thing.
And you know what it is, Sean and Dana? What it is, if you're a vendor, you want repeat business. If a vendor loses one customer, it's too much. That's my opinion. It's too much because there's so many shows around. There are so many groups that they post the stuff now. They don't even do shows anymore. They start the dollar auction, all that stuff. I want the vendors. I want them to succeed. I want them to have repeat business. You always have to be adding new people. I don't know. I've always been brought up like this. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I worked maybe one job, in a gas station in high school. The rest I've always worked on my own. Always did real estate and had a landscaping company. Landscaping company went to real estate. All that kind of stuff. I always believed in business. You always have to be adding new customers. If I sell Dana a house and his beautiful wife tomorrow, I sell them a house, right? They're done now. I need another new customer to keep the chain rolling, right? I need another new buyer. Absolutely. I've always thought that in business. You always have to be adding new people to your Rolodex, so that's my insight.
So thank you so much for coming on the show and spending your time with us.
Thank you.
Thanks
Ray.
for having me.
It was always great seeing you at the shows. And
Absolutely.
are you doing any shows upcoming or nothing?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to be going to a big event. I want to meet Alex Wright. You know, I'll be going there. I
Yes.
want to see Paul Heyman again. You guys are going to laugh, but I was Paul Heyman's gardener with his mother and father when he was when 1980. I got them as customers, Heyman. I got them from I looked the other day in my records from 1985 to 94. I was with them when he was in the NWA. You remember he had the original Midnight Express? He used to give me tickets. I see him all the time. He used to give me tickets to go to the Meadowlands, you know, when the Meadowlands was having wrestling, to see the NWA. And then as he slowly went to ECW, he purchased ECW. I used to always have to keep that house manicured well. Like they do promos in the backyard. You know, I saw Taz, Sandman, all those guys. So it was long, you know, he was 90s, high 90s. So we used to have his mother would come out and say, you got to trim these bushes because they're going to have the camera here and all kind of stuff like that. So I've talked to him afterwards. He lives close to me. So I see him in CVS a lot of times. You know, I see him down there. He's a good guy, Paul Heyman. He's 100 miles an hour, you know, all the time. So good guy. So those are some memories. So
we will see you
guys.
at big event.
Yes, we'll see a big event. And then let me just say, guys, I'm going to be going. Let's give Captain a little plug up there. He's going to have his convention up in Massachusetts. He's got that show there. I think JBL's going to be at that one. He's got a good list of wrestlers at that one. So that's going to be in Massachusetts. Check out Captain's Corner, you know, his page, and you'll see the whole.
Nick's a great guy.
Nick's a good guy. I love Nick to death. You know, he did a lot of private signings for me. We got a lot done. You know, so I hope you guys don't mind. We'll give him a little plug.
Absolutely not.
So, guys, much love to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Likewise,
appreciate you guys. Keep
we'll
doing what you're doing. Your podcast is the best. So, like Gordon Sully would say, we'll see you from the Sunshine State.
All right, take care, Ray.
Later, Ray.
Wow, we got a lot. We got a lot out of Ray.
That was awesome. And guys, just to explain, if you were wondering where I was for around 20 minutes, I had a bit of a technical difficulty. My internet went out, so I ran around the house frantic trying to reset it. At one point, I was ready to just get dressed and go to the park somewhere to get some cell phone service and hop on that way. But luckily, it came back.
Did you blame anyone irrationally for it, or did you just eat it?
I complained a little bit. I did. I'm not going to lie. I may have cursed out Verizon Wireless because I have no service at my house. I was mad at Optimum. I was just mad at everybody. It was annoying. So much like everyone else, I mean, I'll be very eager to hear the part of the interview I missed because I was glued to Ray's stories because he's a complete legend. So
it was one of those things where I had to make the tough executive decision whether to roll with it or pause the mic. And Ray was off. Let me tell you, Ray was off to the races. That you know, for a guy who's been around as much as he has and has seen as much, he has an unbridled amount of energy. And so he was. I couldn't have stopped him even if I wanted to. Let's just say that.
And I think you had a more than capable co-pilot in my absence, so it all worked out.
So so I guess we'll just we'll wrap it up. So we've been racking up some more subscriptions on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We've gotten a couple more ratings and reviews. If you're at all inclined, please give us at least a rating. It takes you a second just to click. Hopefully 5 stars, but I don't judge. And if you want to write a longer review, that really helps bump us in the algorithm either on Apple Podcast or on YouTube. So we really appreciate those people who do that. Keep the emails coming in. We got a couple more emails that just didn't work out timing wise with Ray's interview. And I believe, Dana, next week we're going to be talking about New York Comic-Con in depth.
Yes, and I just want to throw out there, I was pretty excited about it. The addition of Orlando Bloom is awesome. The lineup for New York Comic-Con is just insane. They added Orlando Bloom and Andy Serkis 10 days out, 15, less than just around 2 weeks out. It's crazy.
I got a couple of frantic texts from a certain markedout.com board legend begging me to split Orlando Bloom photo ops, which I declined.
Guess he knew better than to ask me. He knows my splits. Ira comes to me before, like, because he has his membership that he won on every radio station in the tri-state area, that he gets the news first. So my splits are spoken for.
Yeah, so I had to decline the split with Orlando Bloom. I actually have to go at some point in the next couple of days buy that and actually see what the damage is. Now, they also, I don't know if you saw, they added like the entire cast of Red Dead Redemption.
Luckily, that game makes me motion sick, so I don't have to care about that.
So yeah, I mean, that's like it's very rare that they add like pretty much the entire cast of a video game, and they added them, and that's like it's a huge VIP there. I mean, honestly, I wish I knew about like video game voice actor autographs. I don't know enough about it to like speak to it. But this is like a whole big thing now where these people are doing these and they're commanding huge prices, and it's something that I would never pay for. But clearly people are, because the VIP for the Red Dead Redemption people is like north of $800. So, yeah, I mean, that's a whole big thing. So we'll talk about NYCC next week in detail. We'll lay out exactly what our weekend is going to look like, and, you know, talk about how will we talk about how much money we spent? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll see how embarrassed I am. And then this weekend, we're taking it a little old school. I think I'm more concerned about this than you are, but we're doing something in the wild. I'm a little bit paranoid about it, blowing up the spot, quote unquote. If you know old marked out, you know what that means. So I'll be a little secretive, but this entire weekend I will be out and about, and then a little bit next weekend as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was like, yeah, whatever, let's talk about it, and I was overruled on that one. So in the interest of protecting the secrets of the hobby, and maybe we'll do an episode on the secrets of the hobby and whether they're worth protecting. I don't know if there's any interest in that, because I think there's so few people who even know what that means, or even know what it means,
But I think it's interesting just as like to look back on a time period, because I feel like Fox Mulder right now, as if I'm guarding some secret like UFO location. But
there's definitely, like, from an anthropological perspective, it is interesting. So maybe we'll do something with that. So you have anything else on NYCC or anything else before I wrap it up?
I'm sure by the time we do the episode next week, I'll be spending another $1,000. So
that's how it goes.
Just save it for then.
Sounds good. So if you are shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. We have a couple of signings coming up. We've said those are the past couple of shows, and time is running out. If you want to order anything for Barbara Bain, TV legend, Mission Impossible, Space 1999, all items and orders are due October 23rd. And if you want to order anything for Paul Heyman, we got a couple orders in and a couple more mail-ins for Paul Heyman. So got to get those ready, get those all packed up. But if you want to order anything for Paul Heyman, all items and orders are due November 7th.
Yes, and now we found out that he once employed Ray Dutzcak, which I've known Ray 20 years, and I never heard that story. So I'm still kind of blown away by that. Yeah.
That was a fascinating one. So, yeah, so I mean, it was a great interview with Ray. I'm really excited to hear what people think. I have a feeling it went an hour and 15 minutes, but it probably could have gone double that if we wanted to.
Sure.
And hopefully we'll talk to Ray again in the future. So that just about wraps it up. So for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week.